if a major label artist is working with a producer that's working with an independent or unsigned artist, and the sounds are similar, who's gonna own the higher percentage based on this system that UMG put in place? Whoever signed a UMG. As an announcement, which is a cool announcement, so I've been critical of generative AI quite a bit. I've embraced certain AI platforms that I see as assistive. So specifically with making music, there have been assistive AI programs around forever. Like plugins that will generate chord ideas or melody ideas, that kind of thing. But then now with the AI platforms that are being sued right now by the IRAA, there's from what, and I'll die on this hill. I'm speaking for myself. There's clear evidence that they are not only training on copyrighted materials, which they've admitted recently, and I have an article about that, but they're also outputting flagrantly copyright infringing material as well. And their main defense has always been, whatever comes in shouldn't matter because what comes out is original. And it's absolutely ridiculous for them to say that when a full producer tag, which is copyrighted sound recording, is being outputted. So I don't think there's anything, like if you have a new TV and my name is written on it, there's no conversation to be had there. You stole that from my house. My TV is missing. It's in your house. My name's on it. I have a receipt for it. That's what's happening with these AI companies. Now, yesterday we announced the Lemonade partnership, which is a series of AI models that were trained specifically on 4 or 5 producers. And so the producers have equity in the models. It's a subscription-based model. It's powered by software, and it sounds great. And a lot of people are excited about it. A lot of people were pissed. They're like, "Oh, this is it." I'm like, "This is it? This is what you're upset about?" The fact that we have equity in essentially a chord/idea generator that you still have to do a ton of work on. It's just there to help you make your beats. That compared to what's happening over there with Suno and Udio. Okay.
Wait, Payne. So you guys contributed to one model, or they're creating twins?
Individual.
It became you create like an AI twin of DJ Payne. So you can okay. Got it.
Yeah, and I mean I'm using it my selfishly when they told me about it. One, it was a lot of work because I had to submit MIDIs that I composed. We weren't training it on other people's music, which is great because it's an ethical approach. But I had to submit hundreds and hundreds of MIDI files of stuff that I composed, and then they'd send me a beta version, and then I'd test it out, and okay, this doesn't sound right. And so it's constantly evolving, and it's at a point where it's super dope now. But to me, this is the only future for AI that I'm all right with, where their artists have buy-in, they have control, they have equity, and you know that it's not unethically sourced material to train these AIs. Because the way it is now is they're just taking music for free that other people created and have no knowledge of, and then making tens of millions of dollars off of it. These artists have no equity in it. So that's Lemonade, beatstars.com/studio/lemonade. If you want to try that out, you can try them out for free. I'm excited about that stuff. But as I've said, moving forward, this has to be the way. Otherwise, AI is going to destroy a lot of our careers. I don't care what rose-colored glasses people are wearing. I don't care how people are, AI doesn't have human soul, blah, blah, blah. I bet you've been tricked by AI and you don't even realize it. So I'm not even going to have that conversation. But what I will talk about is, and I think we've said this as a unit on this podcast, the fact that the labels are suing the top AI platforms shows, and on paper the labels say it's because they're here to protect the artist. What I believe is that The labels just want to control the AI, the generative AI space, because otherwise they can't make money. So of course they're here. Of course they're going to make money. And we've seen multiple examples of them setting this up for themselves, the same way they did with streaming. They're setting this up so that they're at the center of it, and so they control it. Of course they can do that because they have money. So recently, I believe Suno responded to the lawsuits against them, and they're still claiming, number one, two things happen. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so read these articles yourself, but I don't know if the two of you read these. The two main kind of bullet points for their response is, one, they admitted that they're training on copyrighted materials, which we knew was going to happen. When I talked to Crystal, top music attorney, she said because they were claiming fair use initially, fair use is a defense for being caught infringing on copyright. So there's no going back from that. They had to admit to that. But two, they're doubling down saying it's fair use. Now, I don't see how it's fair use when you're outputting the input. That's not fair use. That's copyright infringement. Also, it's not for educational purposes. It's for commercial purposes. You're making tens of millions of dollars doing this. But what the RIAA, which is representing the big three, responded, the way they responded is by saying their industrial scale infringement does not qualify as fair use. There's nothing fair about stealing an artist's life's work, extracting its core value, and repackaging it to compete directly with the originals, as the Supreme Court just held in its landmark Warhol Foundation case. So I guess there's a precedent there. Defendants had a really lawful path to bring their products and tools to the market, obtain consent before using their work, as many of their competitors already have. That unfair competition is directly at the issue of the case. So that's where it goes back to the models that we created. You know, they obtained permission. We worked out a deal. We signed agreements. Now, where does that fit into the RIAA lawsuit? Well, Universal Music Group just created a strategic partnership with a company called Prorata. Prorata explained, this is off of musicbusinessworldwide.com. Prorata explained in its press release that its technology analyzes AI output, measures the value of contributing content, and calculates proportional compensation. In other words, there's now this tool. It's basically Content ID for AI platforms. And what I think, this is how I interpret it, UMG, which benefits greatly off of Content ID. Now I'm getting mad because I know how this is going to play out. But they are now going to use this technological framework because they're anticipating beating Suno and Udio. So once they beat them and they control that space, they can implement Prorata's technology so that, yes, generative AI is still going to be around, but what it's going to do is it's going to detect how much money they owe Universal's artists, and UMG, because they own those catalogs, are going to take all, if not, well, most, if not all of that money. So it is content. I mean, like, someone like me can look at it and say, oh, great, that means my copyrights won't just be infringed on. If we're talking about a system like Content ID at that level, guess what? I'm not going to have access to that system. The labels will. It's just like Content ID. And that's my problem with Content ID, because everyone can use it to fuck each other's lives up, but no one can use it to create a fair situation that's accessible for all music creators. So there's a lot of big stuff going down the pipeline, and it's very clear how the major labels are positioning themselves in all of this. They know exactly what they're doing. And I think they're going to win. And I think, I hate to say it, it's like virtually every, maybe not the current one, I don't want to get into politics, but virtually every presidential election, you're voting for the lesser of two evils. And the lesser of two evils in this case are the record labels. Because at very least, there's going to be some system there to kind of help us out a little bit and tamper down the chaos of copyright infringement precedent that could be set if these AI companies are allowed to just do whatever they want under the guise of fair use. But we're not going to emerge as the winners. It's simply just going to mean we're going to get screwed over a little less.
I don't know if you're going to get screwed over a little less. I think the interesting and scary part of this. So I thought they were going to get sued, and then the settlement was going to happen, and then UMG, or the big three in general, were going to end up owning a large portion of these companies. That's what I thought was going to happen. The introduction of this new system is scary to me because I think about what you're doing with BeatStars or Lemonade, them having a sample case of stuff that you've produced for them and given to their artists. You have a specific style and sound, right? So you do a lot of different types of styles, but you've also put out so many major works that have been on major labels. My fear is now that this system is going to come back and read stuff from y'all's AI platform that you rightfully own and rightfully fed your data into and say, this is similar to this piece of work that's within our system that we own the copyright for. So now DJ Payne 1, you owe us for your intellectual property, which is insane to me. And this goes back to what we were talking about. We've talked about this multiple times, the ethics of AI and saying, oh, well, AI is fed just like humans are fed. Humans are influenced. So AI, no, because again, there's a person assigned to that. There's humanity, there's logic, there's different things that'll happen there that when you assign it to AI, it now comes to a place where it's just again, it's an intellectual property value. How much of the rev share of the main market can we get? What's our market share here? If AI is going to put all of this on the loose, and there's millions upon millions upon millions of songs now that are going to be uploaded at a higher rate, now we want a bigger market share. That's why the Spotify debate, all these different things, it's all about market share. So for me, this is scary because it's an easy way now for the majors to infringe on the independents, on their rights and all of these different things. And because they're spending so much money, as we know, it's not going to be redispersed to the artist. And if it is, it's only going to be redispersed to the 1% that doesn't really need it or will notice it. It's not going to affect all of the smaller artists or all the other people who are in the system who fed into the same thing. If we even look at somebody like Drake or like Big Sean or whatever, a lot of sounds that they're getting are coming from the smaller artists. Lupe Fiasco talks about how, some of his better songs were given to artists who were higher up on the label or higher priority, which was really frustrating for him because it's like, yeah, their songwriter wrote the hook, but he came up with the cadence and flow. And they're like, oh, we're just going to pass this on. It may not be his lyrics, but it very much has a Lupe feel. So you get a Lupe feel from another artist and you're like, oh, this is new. I'm really rocking with this. I just think that there's so many crazy places that this can go. There's so many unethical things that come of this, and I don't really enjoy it. Payne, I have one question I wanted to ask you about Lemonade really quickly, which I think falls in line with this. As you feed this system, is there a statute of limitation or where they can go with this? Like, let's say in 10 years now, it's this massive system. Are you getting like rev share on everything that's generated out of this system? Or is it a certain amount of time? Is it a certain amount of records? Like, is this something that you'll have in perpetuity?
Yeah. Okay, but it's a rev share in terms of the subscription service, but then there's also equity in the compositions, which is something else I want to talk about, but I want to let the two of you get your thoughts off because there are two very serious implications that I just thought of for this new AI major label takeover.
From that article that you read, you said that the new system, what it does is it calculates like what percentage of like the original works that were fed into the system contributed to the AI generated works. Like,
that's my understanding of it. Yeah.
How the fuck does it do that?
I mean, how the fuck does it create BBL Drizzy? This stuff is above my pay grade.
That's wild. I mean, yeah, it's just getting too complex for anybody really to follow. Like, any one particular case. Like, yeah, I can foresee a song. Be like, what if you don't agree? What if fans take a liking to a particular sound and it was only weighted that it only contributed, 1%, but fans love that part, and it's like 50. I don't know. It's just getting way more complex.
Well, and the labels are going to be the ones that always win in those situations where, if a major label artist is working with a producer that's working with an independent or unsigned artist, and the sounds are similar, who's gonna own the higher percentage based on this system that UMG put in place? Whoever signed a UMG, right?
Yeah.
And then they get to say, oh, well, no, the technology read it, so this is right. That's why I'm saying it's so unethical. Because it's like, then you're just like, oh, you guys just don't understand how the tech works. Because, yeah, of course we don't. But, like, what is the checks and balance system for this tech now?
But
That's
they've
why.
been saying that about Suno when it outputs copyrighted materials, and we're like, why is Cash Money AP's tag in there? Oh, you just don't understand. Like, bitch, what? There's no talking your way out of this.
Yeah.
Like you're what?
And then even being able to utilize the pro rata, whatever, that system when it comes to even like lawsuits in the court of law, and you're taking that back as the sole credible source. It's like, but what's the source's source? That's why when you're a human and you go to court and you testify, eyewitness testimony, but then they verify that by as many points as they can, right? And so like eyewitness is faulty for sure because people can lie, you can construct all these different things, but it's like there's still something to verify that against. With this system, if that's the sole witness, and then you're like, see, because Payne stole this from us, because we have this song, because what is it? That song is still blowing up in my feed, Payne. The one that you did with Flo Milli and
Rodeo. Yeah.
Rodeo. Okay, so yeah, because Rodeo, right, which is like already flip, interpolation, sample, all these things. There's maybe a sound that you took from that, and then they're like, yeah, we own the rights to all of Payne's Lemonade stuff because see here, we own this song, we own Rodeo. You see the similarities. Again, judges, that's why even a lot of these other cases, they don't work in the music industry. They're being asked to interpret law based on the letter of the law, not based on their understanding of what goes on in this industry. So now you bring in a system that automates everything and say, here, we cited our source. I just feel like it's going to lead to so many people. And again, market share. If we just been looking at how independent artists and independent producers and creators have grown the overall market share year over year, taking back parts of it from the major label system, this to me seems like a huge play to conspire to redeem themselves as the purveyors of the market. Even though they have a majority share still, I feel like this is how they take back more of the market share. And it's a scary place to be because they don't care about ethics. They don't even, to me, at that point, care about money. It's just about control. They have more money than they can do with what they need to do. It's just about controlling the narrative, controlling the market, controlling the music so that everybody has to flow through their system. And I hate it.
Yeah. So then let me just end on these two notes. One, so there's this new system, right? The major labels are planning, and what I think all signs point to the major labels planning to take over generative AI, right? And they're going to use their catalogs that they own of all the artists they've signed for the past 100 years, whatever, to detect with this new system to detect what's being contributed to these AI outputs, and then they're going to collect money on the artist's behalf. Have the artists that are signed to them ever had anything in the contracts that they signed about this? No, because this technology didn't exist a year ago. So none of those contracts, it was just like streaming where all the artists were like, well, we signed an agreement 30 years ago. My record deal is from 1991. there was no streaming back then. So why are the labels able to license my music to Spotify and then take money from that? I never signed anything. So this is going to either be the same case, or they're going to find some way to retrofit it to make it seem like, like the way they retrofit a stream to become a mechanical, which doesn't make any sense because there's no physicality there. How are they going to do that here with AI? And then number two, when an AI platform generates a song, it's not just infringing on my sound recording copyright or a sound recording copyright. It's infringing on an underlying composition copyright. The labels don't control vast catalogs of underlying composition copyrights. Publishing entities do, and individual writers retain their portions as well. So how are the labels in charge of spearheading this whole thing? They're going to cut us all out and somehow say, well, this is only a sound recording copyright. That's the crazy thing, because what happened with BBL Drizzy, it set a precedent that the sound recording generated via AI is in public domain. It has no owners, but the underlying composition is based on who wrote the prompt. So it kind of tells me that, it suggests to me at least, that the underlying composition copyright owners have or should have more power in this equation, and that means the labels aren't going to have as much power. So this is higher level stuff that I don't understand the implications of, or how they're going to navigate this. But that's interesting, right? Because the labels are positioning themselves as the main power holders in this case, because they have these vast catalogs. But the songwriters have just as much, if not more, potentially. So how is that going to work out? That we need a lawyer and a musicologist and a label head to talk through this, because there's going to be some shit. They're either going to steamroll over it and just hope that no one fights back, and maybe no one will fight back, or there will be a huge class action lawsuit, and this is all just going to burn down to the ground. And I hope there's some fire. I got some gasoline.
There it is. All right, I think
there it is. So we'll see. Drop a prediction in the comments section, because this is all very unprecedented. We've never been in this space in the music business before, ever. So what do you think is going to happen? I've kind of expressed what I think is going to happen, but I also know that there are so many unknowns we can't possibly predict. What we can predict is that you can get 3 free months of premium music distribution simply by entering the code @odds when you log on to tolost.com and sign up for their music distribution service. Get your music on all the platforms, 3 months for free. Monetize your music for free. If you don't like the platform, then don't continue paying, but your music will stay up. If you do, it's really cheap. It's like, what, $3 a month or something?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's nothing. So do that, tolost.com, use the code @odds, and we will catch you on the next podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. Peace.
Peace.